It happens in the spaces between obligations, in those brief, unprotected seconds when the relentless forward motion of your life suddenly pauses. The car engine shuts off in the dark driveway, the front door clicks shut behind you, or the glowing screen finally goes dark at the extremely late end of a long day. The ambient hum of productivity fades, leaving a sudden, ringing emptiness in the air. This is the threshold. It is the exact moment when the quiet stops being a mere physical absence of sound and becomes a heavy, almost suffocating presence in the room. Your immediate visceral instinct is to fix it. The silence feels less like peace and more like a direct accusation, a vacuum demanding to be filled before it consumes you. So you reach instinctively into your pocket, turn on the television, or find a menial task that requires just enough superficial attention to drown out the quiet. We are deeply conditioned to treat this stillness as a glitch in our daily rhythm, an uncomfortable error that must be corrected immediately. We do not stop to ask why the mere act of existing in an empty room feels like a physical threat we must escape. But if you leave the phone in your pocket, if you let the television remain dark and simply sit down, the atmosphere shifts. The room does not change, but your awareness of it intensifies. You hear the faint settling of the floorboards, the distant rush of traffic, the slow rhythm of your own breathing. The external world retreats, and the internal world rushes forward to take its place. In the 17th century, long before the invention of the smartphone or the 24-hour news cycle, a mathematician and philosopher named Blaise Pascal documented this exact phenomenon. In his collection of fragments known as the Pensées, he observed that the sole cause of humanity's unhappiness is that we do not know how to stay quietly in our room. He saw clearly that our endless pursuit of entertainment, social status, and even warfare was largely a frantic, desperate attempt to avoid the terror of our own company. Today, that frantic attempt has been entirely industrialized. We live inside a sophisticated distraction machine, a global infrastructure designed to capture and monetize our attention from the moment we wake to the moment we sleep. It provides a constant stream of external stimuli, offering us an infinite number of places to mentally be, as long as that place is not here. We are terrified of what might happen if we actually stop running. What we are running from is not the silence itself, but the internal chatter that the silence reveals. When the external noise is stripped away, the mind is suddenly left without an anchor. It begins to loop through anxieties, replaying old conversations, projecting future catastrophes, and cataloging every perceived failure. This sudden onslaught of mental noise is what makes the quiet feel so unbearable. We mistake this chaotic internal weather for who we fundamentally are. This discomfort is not a sign that something is broken within you. It is simply the backlog of your unexamined life demanding to be felt. The internal chatter is the sound of everything you have pushed aside in the name of productivity and forward momentum. It is the grief you did not have time to process, the anger you swallowed, and the subtle, lingering questions about the direction of your life that you have been too busy to answer. Sitting with this noise requires a profound kind of endurance. The first few minutes are a physical rebellion. Your heart rate might elevate. An itch develops on your shoulder. Your brain insists that there is an urgent email to send, a chore that must be completed right now. Every nerve ending is begging you to stand up, to break the stillness, to return to the familiar numbness of doing. If you yield to that panic, the cycle simply resets. You go back to the distraction machine, carrying the weight of that unexamined chatter just beneath the surface, waiting for the next moment the music stops. But if you hold your ground, if you simply observe the panic without acting on it, something extraordinary begins to happen. The urgency starts to lose its grip. The fear of silence begins to fracture. Exploring the lens of this experience requires a fundamental shift in how we relate to our own thoughts. We are constantly taught to manage our minds, to conquer our anxieties, to optimize our mental states for maximum efficiency. But true stillness is not an act of conquering, nor is it an exercise in control. It is an act of profound surrender. It is the terrifying willingness to let the internal chatter rage without jumping in to argue with it, fix it, or suppress it. You begin to see that you are not the thoughts themselves. You are the space in which the thoughts are happening. When you stop fighting the internal noise, you realize it is just energy moving through your nervous system. The thoughts arise, they peak, and if left completely alone, they eventually dissolve back into the void. You are the sky, and the chatter is merely the weather passing through. As the storm of thoughts begins to exhaust itself, a new texture enters the room. The frantic buzzing in your chest settles into a slow, rhythmic pulse. The silence, which only moments ago felt like a suffocating pressure, expands. It becomes porous and breathable. You are no longer bracing yourself against the quiet. You are resting inside it. This is a radical act in a culture that measures human worth by output and visibility. To sit and do nothing is to step outside the economy of attention. It is a silent rebellion against the idea that you must constantly be consuming or producing to justify your existence. In the quiet room, there is no audience. There is no metric for success. There is only the raw, unmediated experience of being alive. Sometimes in this deepening quiet, a profound sense of sorrow rises to the surface. It is the mourning of the time spent running, the exhaustion of maintaining a persona for the outside world. When you finally stop, you feel the ache of your own weary bones. You realize how hard you have been working to outrun your own shadow and how futile that race has always been. Let that sorrow come. It is the breaking of the ice that has encased your inner life for years. Framing this vulnerability not as a weakness but as a necessary thawing allows you to finally integrate the parts of yourself you have kept hidden in the dark. The tears that fall in an empty room are not a defeat. They are a necessary baptism. They wash away the accumulated grit of 1,000 forced smiles, 100 hollow conversations, and the crushing weight of pretending you are entirely fine. Pascal understood that the inability to sit quietly was a symptom of our alienation from our own spiritual depth. We distract ourselves because we are afraid to look at the vast, terrifying mystery of our own existence. We would rather engage in trivial conflicts and chase fleeting pleasures than face the profound reality of our mortality and our deep, inherent need for meaning. The modern distraction machine preys on this exact alienation. It offers 1,000,000 tiny, glowing lifelines to pull us away from the edge of that mystery. It tells us that the answer to our existential drift is more information, more connection, more optimization. But the machine is a labyrinth with no center. It only leads deeper into the noise, further away from the very stillness that holds the cure. But here in the quiet, the labyrinth falls away. There is nothing to achieve, nothing to figure out, nothing to defend. The breath moves in, the breath moves out. The dust motes drift in the shaft of sunlight crossing the floor. The profound simplicity of the moment reveals itself not as an empty void, but as an absolute fullness. You begin to discover a sanctuary that has always been waiting for you. It is a place untouched by the demands of the world, a core of unshakable presence. This is the ultimate destination of the journey inward. When you finally stop running from silence, you do not find a terrifying abyss. You find yourself waiting patiently exactly where you left off. The challenge, of course, is that the world outside the room has not changed. The machinery of modern life is still grinding away. The emails are still accumulating, the obligations are still looming, and the cultural pressure to rejoin the frantic race is immense. The silence you have found is fragile, easily shattered by the first ping of a notification or the first rush of morning traffic, but the relationship to that external noise has fundamentally shifted. You are no longer a hostage to it. By facing the internal chatter and surviving the discomfort of the empty room, you have forged an anchor. You know with absolute certainty that the peace you seek is not located in a future achievement or a different circumstance. It is available right here beneath the surface of the present moment. You can carry this quiet with you. It becomes a secret reserve of strength, a space between stimulus and response where you hold the power to choose. When the world demands your immediate panic, you can tap into the memory of the still room. You can take a breath, feel the weight of your feet on the ground, and respond from a place of grounded clarity rather than reactive fear. We will never dismantle the distraction machine. It will continue to evolve, offering ever more immersive ways to escape the reality of our own lives. The screens will get brighter, the algorithms will get smarter, and the temptation to numb the discomfort will always be present. The choice to turn away from the noise is a choice that must be made again and again, every single day. Yet the path is now clear. The door to the quiet room is always unlocked. You do not need a special technique, a retreat in the mountains, or a perfectly optimized schedule to find it. You only need the courage to stop moving, to let the noise settle, and to sit quietly with the only person who will be with you from the first breath to the last.